Hey there. I want to talk a little bit more about signal phrases and especially about how our example essay for the Reader's Right assignment uses signal phrases to let readers know exactly who said what and where it came from. One of the terms that you're going to be hearing a lot during this class is signal phrase. It has to do with citation, and it's pretty much the heart of academic writing. All right, so I'm going to bip on over to our example paper here of the A rubric and just look at that first line again with you. Mara Ormond's 2021 contribution to the Sun magazine's Reader's Rights section on the topic of mail ends with a heartwarming truth that perhaps all of us might wish to experience. Quote, mail from a handful of strangers transformed my life. Now, it's a very clear introductory sentence to this essay. And when I first saw it, I went, okay, really clear thesis. It turns out that in terms of it being a thesis, I think that the writer gets to the thesis sentence in the last sentence of this paragraph, and my notes there are just sort of jot them down as I look at things. Just to try to help you guys, but it focuses the essay. It lets us know that the first quote we hear here comes from Mara Ormonds. Well, let's just make sure that our reader did it right or how they did it. We can just go take a peek at the actual Sun magazine, which is the Sun issue 543, March 2021. Now, I know I'm not. It's Mara Ormond. There, from Warwick, Maryland. Now I kind of got to go up and see where hers starts. There it is. All right, I got to bit back. And I definitely remember the name, but I have to remember the quote now. What does she say? She ends it with a heartwarming truth that perhaps all of us might wish to experience. Mail from a handful of strangers transformed my life. That seems to me, just in terms of it organizing all of these different mail from a handful of strangers transformed my life. It's a really nice centering idea, and I'm trying to help you write your Reader's Right assignment here by pointing out that this quote that our writer Skylar uses at the beginning of this really really sums up the set. Now, I don't know the set. It's been a long time since I read it, but it does mail from a handful of strangers transform my life. I think that very often many of the essays or the anecdotes that the writer quotes from the Reader's Rights anecdotes have that sentiment. So here we go. Let's just look for that. I'm going to just skim really quickly. Is it the last line? Yeah. So it's the last line of the piece, mail from a handful of strangers transformed my life. Now, of course, you and I reading it here out of context doesn't really help, but I'd like this video to also sort of help you learn how to browse. So we could just take a peek here. Let's just read this. As a Peace Corps volunteer in my early 20s, I lived in a rural village in Senegal and spoke to the locals in French and the local language, Dekanke. Communicating was difficult because of the stutter that had always plagued me. Hiding it by changing words in mid-sentence wasn't possible when I didn't know many words. My stutter was on display for all to see. I was afraid I sounded stupid. One day, another volunteer's mother came to visit and brought a friend who happened to stutter too. She told me about a U.S. organization for people who stutter, and she got me on their mailing list. When their newsletter arrived in the mail, I read about people who lived bold, confident lives despite stuttering. I wrote a letter to the editor to thank him, and he published it with my address. The letters started coming in from a fatherly man in Texas, an octogenarian in Connecticut, a speech language pathologist in California, a young Palestinian living in Oregon. In essence, they all said the same thing. I'm proud of you. I'm here for you. I corresponded with many of those letter writers for the rest of my time in Senegal, and they understood me in a way my family and friends never had. I learned I was not alone in my struggle, that I possessed courage and strength. Mail from a handful of strangers transformed my life. So let's marvel for a second at the choice of that quote. I think that a different writer might have gotten bogged down in the specifics of that one reader's right, which was about stuttering, an important topic to be sure, different abilities, all of these kinds of things. And certainly, had that writer really had some connection with that different ability, they might have done something different with this in their piece. So what I'm trying to underscore here for you is that you are in charge of how you use the quotes. I just wanted to underscore that they chose that last sentence from that reader's right, mail from a handful of strangers transform my life, because in some way it is well, it gets to the kind of the archetypal effect of mail, and you'll see as you read this essay that those ideas are manifest almost every time that that mail can be transformative. Let me read the next sentence of the essay. You can't see it right now because you're looking at my pretty face, but you might bring it up so that you're taking a peek at it. The Reader's Right collection of anecdotes on the topic of mail presents a kaleidoscope that is a love story. Time Machine International Flight. So just to say, that particular moment in this essay is it's a derived from listing. The writer has obviously read all of them. I don't know that I've seen an essay response to this assignment where the writer was so intent on letting me understand that they had truly familiarized themselves with the set. It is important to do that, so I do continue to let you know, choose a set that you really, really relate to. Okay. So there's a topic sentence for paragraph 2. That's the first sentence. I'm taking you back to high school, but topic sentence, but this is the way essays work. The first 2 entries about mail juxtapose voting and Christmas and growing up. Voting with Christmas and growing up. I'm not in love with that as a sentence. I feel it's a little bit awkward, but again, this was a high scorer here. I'm very forgiving. It's the early days. Early days. I like a student who does share some effort to use a varied vocabulary. That's a strong piece of this, I think. I like the word juxtapose. I think what that just means is the 2 readers' rights are sitting together, but they're about different, there are different features, and yet they're about mail. I mean, it is so fascinating. But here's the signal phrase that I want to point out to you. So earlier in this video, I said that signal phrases tell us who said something, what they said, and my son looks like a little mouse. He's trying not to. It's okay. So earlier in this video, do you want to come meet my students?
I'm not really dressed for it.
You're not, but this is my
hello.
Son. There. All right. I'll get back to my video now, but then I'll talk to you. That was my son. He did 2 years at LB, and now he's at the big university. All right. I need to get focused again. There's my situation. All right. So what is this signal phrase doing? I told you that earlier these signal phrases tell you who said what and where they said it. That's what I've been talking about. But signal phrases also place things into context. They tell us why. So it's not just who, where, and who, what, and where. There's also why. And the why is context. So this writer is allowing themselves to sort of include their own ideas here. Ali's ideal contribution reminds us. And that's his interpretation. That's or this writer's, the student writer's interpretation when he says it reminds us that mail can be an essential ingredient in the creation of free and fair elections, as he exclaims proudly. All of that is signal phrase. Ali Zaidel Meyer's contribution reminds us that the mail can be an essential ingredient to the creation of free and fair elections, as he exclaims proudly. I vote as if my life depends on it. So this has just been a quick reminder about signal phrase and how important it is as you write your Reader's Right paper, which is due this week on Friday at midnight. Remember that signal phrases can tell us what a quote means, where it was discovered, like in the Sun magazine. Of course, who said the quote or wrote the quote, why. So just remember to integrate your quotes with signal phrases and things.